Hi everyone, this is George Williams from Left-Man Production Squared, and welcome to our 16th developer's log for Odyssian Void. Bring the microphone a little bit closer here. What we're going to be doing tonight is essentially working on some, well, I guess on one emblem for the game slash information just to use forever. So, yeah, working on the Children of Itora's emblem tonight. I already did the work. Did another emblem earlier. It's for the Sluikan. I'll show you that. But here's, I don't know if it'll show up very well, but here's this hastily drawn in about 5 minutes, crappy kind of a place idea starting point for this emblem that we're gonna be working on. It's gonna have a lot of or just kind of iconography, if you will. Got a couple all-seeing eyes in there for the Illuminati are real friends. Obviously the sword to reference the fact that they are very fanatical to the point of declaring war. And I think it's a very good iconography for just, you know, what the Children of Itora are. So, let's go ahead and get into it. Turn on my monitor here. I turned it off so that the glare wasn't too bad on my glasses while I was doing the introduction. I'll go ahead and shrink down the... That's over there. Shrink down the webcam and continue from there. Okay, so, I already have it open. So here's the emblem for... actually, probably should keep this for reference points. Damn. Pull this forward, stick this back over here somewhere, so that'll work. So this is the emblem for the Sluikan. I just worked on it last night. Spent about, I don't know, let's say maybe 30 minutes or so on it. Not too bad. I wanted to seem, again, I wanted to kind of draw some imagery from the history backstory of the Sluikan. So you got this dagger here that looks like it could be ritualistic in nature or designed for killing really quickly with serrated edges on here. So essentially you jam it into your foe and rip it out, and these here on the way in and out will cause massive trauma. These little points here are actually interesting. They are directly correlated to the lore, and essentially these 5 points represent the 5 colonies that the Sluikan set up on extra whatever their system name is, worlds, where they actually had to go in and essentially kill off all the inhabitants. So these are representative of the 5 colonies that they had to conquer when they were setting up when they were first kind of exploring out into the universe. Essentially, the 5 original colonies of the Sluikan Imperium is what it is supposed to represent, anyway. Essentially, all I did with those, just did the first 5, then just copy and pasted and flipped them and rotated them around a little bit, 9 degrees and whatnot, and was able to line them up pretty close to accurately with each other, and they looked pretty good there. Honestly, it came out looking a lot better than I thought it was going to. Especially the blade here. I actually had to do a little bit of fixing on this a little bit. I actually made it, created this straight while it was straight up and down, then rotated it afterwards. But it actually came out looking a lot better than I thought it would. Excuse me. So now we're going to move on to the Children of Itora, and I just want to go ahead and do a resave of this. We're going to call it COI. Yes, and then we're going to just get rid of all of this because we don't need those. So let's start with a new layer. Okay, so the first thing we should probably do, probably the easiest to do, would be the all-seeing eye kind of thing. So essentially all we need is a triangle kind of shape. I don't know, well, that might not be as easy as I thought it would be. So what we can do is pen tool. Go ahead and zoom in a bit. Let's turn on the guides and clear them off. clear guides. Okay. So that's going to come up here to the top. Go ahead and make a first point. And then we'll line up a guide to that. Kind of, sort of. I guess I'll put one here too, just so we can get the cross section. And if it's not quite on line with it, we can come back later and get it on. It's actually set up to snap to... Yeah, okay, so that is centered then as far as Adobe is concerned. Or Photoshop, I guess. So we want to come down now a ways. Again, what I like to do is I like to oversize them, because that way when you come back, that might be a little bit too large. You can shrink them down, and they will be better quality than if you make them too small to shrink, size them up, because when you size something up, it loses its quality. So it's always better to size down, and that's always the case with any kind of imagery, be it video or stationary like this. If you're going to be shrinking it down or having to change the resolution, it's always better to change the resolution so that's smaller than larger. Alright, so I want to try and make this equal here, so let's see, let's change this to pixels. And I want to make sure we're starting on an actual grid line here. That's the first step to making sure everything's on the grid properly. That was on the grid down there, but on it up here. So, zoom out. Looks like they fixed the issue where things were not lining back up properly. Actually, no, they didn't, did they? Well, there was an issue a while ago where if you had something that was on a grid line along the ruler and it was lined up with the ruler and you zoomed in or zoomed out, specifically zoomed in, that's interesting. Whatever it was that you were, wherever it was that you were looking at would no longer, essentially the ruler wouldn't update. Looks like they fixed that though. And this still is not quite on, is it? Okay, there we go. We're talking, so small measurements, it's just not seeable, but just for the sake of... it's so hard to see the line on this. Actually, you can't see the line, can you? The movement line or something, I don't know. Anyway, so that's on now. This is properly centered. So we want to do something. I had another... There it is, yeah, another guide here. We want to have it be kind of triangulated in terms of being... So the distance here is going to be the distance out, half the distance of this. Because we're doing a half of one, so it'll have half of this distance here and half over here, and I'll make it a whole triangle. Or though, well, maybe it should be the same distance. Well, we'll see. Let's go the whole distance. So, this is... What is it? 91 to... 405? 408. No, 408. So, what we'll need to do now is a little bit of math. So, 95 minus 408, although I'm doing it backwards. So that's 313. So we want wherever this is going to be at to be on 313. So we want to subtract 313 from 895. So we want that first corner point to be on 582. No, that's not right. There's no way that could be right. Five. It's like right there is about. No, that'd be way too freaking huge. Because then it would be the same over on the other side. So like right about here somewhere. Yeah, no, it's gonna be half. So so we'll just round it up, say 157. So damn it, I wish it was easier to see this thing here. Let's see, so and somehow this is just getting offline all the time. I zoom out and then I zoom back in. And it just seems like it's moved. So yeah, 895 minus 115, 158, 150. 157, yeah, that's right. So oh my god, this stupid piece of crap software. I have no clue what the hell is wrong with this thing, but it is just messed up beyond repair. Logitech gaming software just does not work properly in Windows 8.1. Actually, you know what? I take that back. It doesn't work properly at all. But it really doesn't work right in 8.1. So, 157 minus 895. Actually, it's plus. No, yeah, minus. I'll do the plus in a second here. So, 738. That's probably going to be a lot closer. 738. 738. Of course, we'll have to drop down in there and line it up properly. Because for some reason it allowed it to go 0.2 off. I don't know why. Okay, that looks better. Yeah. Well, it's gonna. Well, that'd be really thin though. I don't know. But the other way is way too much. Well, we'll do it and we'll see what happens. Let's bring this up a bit. Just a little bit. Maybe it won't be as bad. Alright, that looks probably pretty good. So now, go the other way. So 895 plus 157. 1052. So actually we're kind of close to where we need to be at. Kind of. Actually, that's online there. Okay. So, I'm going to make sure I click on this again and get highlighted there. That looks pretty good. That looks like a really properly done triangle there. Alright, so now what I want to do is I want to make this a selection. Then what I want to do is actually fill this in. We're going to fill it in with this because it's going to be a temporary layer. Going to make a new layer. And then we're going to hide that. And then expand this a certain amount. So let's go to select, modify, expand. As you can see, that didn't really expand very well. So what I might choose to do instead is to get into here and just transform the selection. and scale it up. Now what we'll do is fill it in with this gray. This is a trick I learned a while ago. It's really nifty. So now what we do is we select this triangle. Oh wow, this is a little bit too big, isn't it? Just a little bit too big. And not centered either. Let's go ahead and bring that up. And then we will fill this in. Drop it down below, and then we'll center it up. That's pretty close. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to make this a bit bigger because it's still the outer one's a little bit too big. It's just a little off. Alright, that's good enough. So highlight this, get rid of that, come down to this one, and then delete. So now we have our hollowed out triangle. And we get rid of this layer. Now inside of this, we want to do an eye. So what I have on this is actually like a little eye where you have like a iris in the cornea, but that said, that's not really going to work with this because it's going to be the same color, unless I wanted to make one part of this a darker golden color than the other. Now, I could do that easily, but it would kind of break the theme with that from all the other emblems. So what I think I'll do is, well, let's make it one giant eye. No cornea or anything, just like a giant iris. And so it'll be like taking up that much space about. So I want to move this into here. Again, this part's not going to be exact. It's going to go off of visual. Alright, the bottom of it's obviously going to be the bottom of this. And the top is going to be right about in here somewhere. Not that big of a thing. So we're going to go to a new layer. Always break your things down into multiple layers. That way, if you ever have to make adjustments to it, you don't have to, recreate it or try and remove it from the layer, like selecting it and copying it to a new layer so you can delete it out of there and work with it to make it different. Do everything in separate layers. That way you can easily modify stuff if needed. It's not quite center there. Okay, so this is pretty easy. All we need to do is make a circular bit here. Essentially it needs to be I'll make it a little bit larger on the vertical here. Actually, we'll go down with it. So it's not, it's actually kind of snapping a bit. That's good enough. So now what we do with this, take this up here, line it up. Now we can see it's not quite the distance we want here. We want this edge to be going through here. So we're going to transform it. So I'm just going to pull this way. And somehow this got a little off. I wonder when that happened. Alright. Once again, we're going to fill it. It's gray. This time, however, what we're going to do is this. Select this. And then delete. Then unselect it. And then what we're going to do is get rid of the guides, and then we'll erase what's left here on the bottom. And then we'll have our eye bit. And there we go. So now, the next thing we want to do is do some kind of light rays that'll come off of here. Now, there's a couple ways we could do this. We could literally put in, do an actual lens flare kind of thing. For example, let's see. That's true, it has to be based off of a thing, so let's go ahead and do a see if we can't do a little bit of a cheat here. So I essentially want to kind of encircle this entire thing here. Kind of mangled up the ratio. Let's try this again. And it's alright if it's a little bit bigger than it. In fact, it'd probably be more preferable to be a little bit bigger. Alright, and then we'll just fill it. Now let's go to, I'm going to put in a new layer here. Drop it down. I want to fill this with black. Okay. This filter, lens flare. It's not quite working out like I thought it would. So we won't do a lens flare. I won't try and do a lens flare. Some bits here. It must be in this. Okay, it is in this. Still got a few bits to remove. Also, doing this allowed me to see there's actually a little space there we need to get rid of. There. Actually, not there. There we go. So, how we'll do this then is we will just kind of put them in manually. So what we'll use is the line tool, and I'll just create a line. Actually, we'll go ahead and use this. Yeah, let's go ahead and make it a bit thicker than that. Let's make it 5 points. See what it looks like. let's see. Oh, here we go. I think we got it now. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Instead of shape. So let's try 3 to start with. That's, well, I don't know. Again, these are gonna be shrunken down. So I actually may want to go even a bit bigger. Let's go with 5. 5. I think 5 will be just fine. So what we'll do is we'll take one of these here. So lengthwise, I don't know. Something like this, I guess. And what we'll do now is essentially copy this layer a bunch of times. So I've got 3, 6, 7. I've got like 8 copies here, so we'll see what we do with them here. First, I want to move this down somewhere. Actually, let's do this. Let's go ahead and duplicate, then merge. Then I'm going to shrink this down a little bit now. Just a little bit. And actually, what I want to do then is take these. I'm going to make them to be a little bit smaller in length. Alright. Now let's re-copy them a couple times. Alright, so the first one, stick about right here. The second one. Of course, we can adjust them as we need to later on. Not quite the right angle. There we go. No, it's a little bit too far now. The annoyance of getting things just right. And it doesn't look quite right, but again, we can mess around with things later on. This thing still isn't quite right, is it? It'd probably be easier just to copy these ones over here on the left, paste them and flip them, but I'm not going to do that. And I hid that last one over there for using it later, if we need to redo these or fix them somehow. Because when they're, you know, turned around like this, it's really hard to mess around with their length. So if we have to make them longer, just essentially remake them out of that one. Well, these aren't really that hard to make anyway, lines, the line tool. It's not like we couldn't just remake everything anyway. So let's go ahead and grab these, this. So you kind of have it looking like that. Again, it's not exactly correct, but it doesn't really need to be. It kind of conveys the idea. I'll probably go through and make them a little bit better lined up later on. So let's say that I wanted to, let's do this and this. Let's just say for the heck of it. So that's what it looks like so far. This first part here, anyway. Looks pretty similar to what I have on this thing. I might change it so it's more of a centralized eye, though. Maybe that's what we should do with that. Instead of this, we would go that's not quite right. Still a little bit too... what you want to do is actually go over into this a bit, so that it's actually not going to have those kind of spaces where it's barely just not touching. So that'll show up pretty well, pretty easily. So let's just go a little bit... That's just a little bit too much over. And there's a problem with using control. We're trying to modify bounding box. Oh, that should be fine. Now, fill it. And somehow I managed to delete the layer for it. That's stupid. Let's title this Triangle Okay, there. Now if I just wanted to duplicate, merge, and then paste the layer. There, it's a bit better. A little more eye looking, a little more a little bit more to the point. Plus, it creates these kind of awesome looking triangular shapes here as well. It's kind of bent triangular shapes, almost something's almost like Starfleet badges almost. Alright, so go and get rid of that layer. Duplicate these, merge them, hide these. So now this complete with the light rays. Okay, that looks a lot better. One thing we could do to make it even better, though, just as like a thing we could do here. And I might do a little bit more work on it, something like that. So that's something you can do. So what I want to do, though, is I want to make sure I have two versions of this. So I want to duplicate this in case I want to come back and change it again later. And then I want to take this one and do the thing on that. So say resized eye, no hole. I guess we'll say no iris. So now, just go ahead and get rid of that. I'm going to take all this and I'm going to group it. Get rid of that. Parts 1. And then we want to start on the sword. So you pull out the pen tool here, and let's go ahead and start with the blade. This is going to be the easiest part, I think. And really, we're not going to be able to show a flattened edge on top of it like you would like a blood channel or something because, well, no, we'll do that on the end of it. We still couldn't show it really though because again it's gonna be one flat gold color. So instead of doing like we have on here, how we'll do it is essentially just have like the blade shape, but at the end I'm gonna have a section that's actually cut up and then over and form like a triangle on the end of it. So you'll see what I mean here in a second. So let's go and do the basic blade shape. I want to leave a good amount of area up here for the hilt and the cross tree. So we'll start like maybe right in the middle-ish. So I'll take it down a fair ways here. Alright, so that's the bottom edge. Now, let's say that this is going to be excuse me, let me see, let's grab the eye here because it needs to line up a little bit with the eye. So the blade will be about where the hilt is going to be, so just actually a little bit over. The hilt will like start here on the eye, so about right there. And I want to go to an area about the same on this side. So again, I'm assuming they're both that these 2 points that we're using to line up are about in the same area here, in terms of, you know, they're properly spaced out. This eye section is. It's a little bit much. I think that's about right. So this is like where the hilt would start, and then this would start here. So, there, and it's a little off, tiny bit off. It's a little too much. Damn. It's like right in between those 2 points. So friggin' close. Damn it. Off again. Perfect. Alright, so this is where the where it's gonna start at. The blade will start at on the outer ones, hilt on the inner ones. So this is going to come in down to here, kind of. So I'm going to do another one of these. It's going to be about halfway in between those two. We'll do another one on the other side as well. The same distance. So, and then I also want to bring one down this way, because this is going to be the edge of the blade here. Go ahead and line everything up here. Like stuff being as close down the grid as possible. Just makes things a lot cleaner, easier to deal with. Problem is trying to figure out which particular places the thing should be at. Sometimes it's a lot easier to figure out than others because they're closer to certain ones than other ones are. Alright, it should be pretty close. So now, the tip. What am I doing? Will come down a certain amount of distance. I mean, it's not going to be too much. We don't want to make it too long, obviously, because it starts getting comical after a while. But I mean, just how much you need to do, just as, you know, based on visual. I'm thinking right about there, probably. So how this is going to work now is, just go back to the pen tool. Make sure we have this one selected. Oh man, we lost the friggin', damn it, ruler while I was Zing out. So how this is going to work is, come down to here. This can come straight up. I'm going to make a triangle formation here. Again, symbolism. Okay. Now I get to go through and make adjustments. Actually, that's not even on the line, is it? No wonder that seems off. So there's the blade right there, done. All we gotta do is fill it in. Well, we gotta make it a thing, then fill it in, then we'll be done with it. So, make selection. Fill it in and boom. There we go. Instant cool looking sword. Or at least sword blade. So now, another new layer. Called the blade. That's what it is. So now for the hilts. The haft is not going to be too bad. I mean, it's just going to be a straight down bit. Again, it's going to start in this area here, this inside area here. So that's not going to be too hard. Now, judging where to start at, because we're going to have a lot of stuff that's going to happen with the cross tree, which is going to be interesting. So this part here has to be a little bit wider than the blade. The cross guard, if you will. Damn it. There. So, I guess we'll start it up here then. That one's actually pretty close on. Alright, so we'll start here. So, let's see. That should be fairly good there. Okay, now we need another section for the edge of the cross tree. It's going to come out a fair little bit here. So this is where the outer edge of the two sides of the cross tree are going to meet. I'll need to do about the same on the other side. Okay, I'm not going to do all the measurements for this. It's going to be by just sight. I think that's pretty close. Let's see, what else do we need to have for this? So the lower edge of the cross tree should be across from this. So, yeah, that's fine. So essentially it's going to go like this, and then like this. So we're probably going to need a little bit of a little more space here for... So the cross tree will come out, down, and then up into here. That might be a little bit too much. You know, I should probably make this sword a little bit longer. So it doesn't look quite so, you know, hobbitish like. But we can deal with that, just adding on a little bit to this. It's not that big of a deal. So how much of a bend should there be in this? And I don't want to like frigging that, but I also don't want to like this. It's got to be a noticeable amount. It's got to look good too, though. That looks pretty good. Now this part's going to be the interesting one. First and foremost, I need to come up here. Oops. Ah, you bloody freaking things in the way. It's kind of like that. hate it when the guides get in the way. This makes it so much more annoying. So now I want to bring the edge of this up to here. What the hell? Oh. Yeah, I didn't click it the right way. So now, how should... So I want to give this a little more of a long kind of look to it. Actually, truth be told, I want to put that there instead. That looks pretty close. The health, it should probably be a little further out even, to be honest. So now what I want to do is, I just want to kind of do a cop out here. That is, we're going to go to the middle. We're going to make this very easy to do here. So first we're going to go to create selection. So we're going to fill this. D. Then we're going to copy it. I'm going to move it. I'm going to flip it 180. Or oops, actually, flip it horizontally. And I'm going to line up the two halves here. And we're going to have a completed thing here now. So I don't have to do both sides, just one side, then duplicate it. That's the quick way of doing things. Now what I want to do is, we have to create this bit down here with the pen tool. Just go ahead and merge these. So helped so far anyway. Now back to the pen tool. So this will start here. I'm not sure if this should be a little bit bent or not. It might look interesting a little bit bent. Nah, screw it. I think it's too small of a distance to bend it over. It'll just look weird. So now we want to go in here and fill it. Okay. Get over our lines here. So you can kind of see we got a little bit of a size issue here. These are a little too large this direction for the size of this, and a little too large this direction for the size of this. Looks like some wonky kind of crazy thing maybe some blacksmith made when he was drunk. So what we're going to do is going to try and do some fixing here. And since this is all one part now, it's going to be a little hard to do, but we're going to try it anyway. So let's go to rectangle. I'm going to go with a normal size. Essentially I want to go like this. We're going to scroll in here. And I want to modify my selection area. Okay. Now I'm going to copy this, then delete it. Then I'm going to create a new layer and paste it in. So now this is separated from that. Then what I'm going to do is we're going to go Control T. Essentially, just going to widen it a bit. That's a little too much. It's pretty close. Now I want to select this. I want to modify the selection and go higher with it. And then I want to fill in the remaining bit here. And then I want to move it down. Into the cross tree a bit, so that kind of seam goes away. So you still have the seam there. The seam looks like it's still there, but it's actually covering a little bit of what was there already. Uh-oh. What's going on here, man? I got some really messed up crap going on. Okay, well, I was doing good up until I selected this one, which is for that. What I wanted to do was select this one, and then do it. Okay. Now, move it down a bit. Actually, it should have even been a little bit more. Let's zoom out real quick here. Okay, that looks a little bit better for that. Now what we need to do is to elongate the this here too. So that's gonna be a little bit more interesting. First thing we have to do is we have to segregate this the tip from the rest of it, because that's gonna make some problems. So let's go ahead and deselect that for the moment. And go ahead and reintegrate all that together. So that's how it needs to be. Now we'll take this and move it up a fair distance so we can work with this. Alright, let's go ahead and zoom in and select only blade. We get the marquee tool, and we'll just take, you know, the tip plus a little bit on the other end here, and I'm going to go ahead and again Control C, make a new layer, V it back in. Now, what I want to do is go down to the blade and scroll in, and essentially I want to do a marquee again, and we want to line these two halves up together with this marquee. So I'm going to start here. And take this all the way down, then just fill it in. So I guess it's not really more involved, it's just a little different process. Then reintegrate that. Alright, zoom back out. Now I want to Control J. Control E. Alright, so we got our sword now. I thought the little bits and bobs, but that's fine. Actually, that stuff's not even going to show up on this. I mean, yeah, no. It wouldn't even show up on this, so there's no reason to put it in. It would all be just, it would all blend in together unless we did each part separately. Wouldn't be able to layer things on top of each other. So let me just kind of give you an example. Let's say we had this. I want to do a new layer, and let's just put in some weird thing here. So we want to make a selection, and then we want to, let's fill it with this though so you can see visually how it's different now. So copy this, hide it. We'll copy this as well. So we have the two layers here. So if I merge them together, and then we do the paste layer style, see, it's doesn't show up. Because now the two layers are together and the colors are covered over by that. What we'd have to do is this. I don't know why we're keeping that for, we don't even need it. At least I think that's, yeah. Don't do that one. What we'd have to do is this. We'd have to say, okay, we're going to do this as that. Then do this as this. And so now we have an obvious, double layer thing going on here. However, the way that the thing is set up is that it needs to be flat, like one surface kind of thing. Even this kind of loses some of its look because of how it is there. Obviously, you can tell it's still there, but it doesn't look quite as nice as you would think it would. So we won't actually put any of that stuff in there. We have to get rid of all that. So we got the sword. Not sure what that layer is for. So we've got our resized eye here. Kind of. Actually, we want this one. And we got our sword. So now what I want to do is I want to take the eye and resize it down a little bit more. Just a tad bit. And I also want to clear the layer style. I want to duplicate both. Whenever you're going to merge something, always duplicate it first. So now we're merged, and we're going to shrink it down a little more. Actually, a lot more. And then paste layer style. And here's our emblem. Granted, it would be a little bit smaller than that, but you can see there's a couple places where this breaks down at. These lines are not big enough, and some of the details also not big enough to really see too well from this size. I mean, you can kind of make it out there, and this here obviously, but it's almost so small that you can't really tell that that's happening. Let's look at it pretty hard. That's right, I actually opened it up in... Let me see. I guess, yeah, it can be bigger, I suppose. It's a little bit long, though, is the problem. And it's still not quite long enough. The blade isn't. It still looks... The proportion still looks off. So there's some work that has to be done. We'll probably make this bigger, make this bigger, and make this longer or something. I don't know. We'll have to figure out how that could work. Or maybe we'll just leave it like that. I don't know. It looks good like that, but at the same time, there's some obvious things that we could fix. We can make this a bit smaller, I guess, to kind of make up for that. But yeah, that's pretty much how it would look on the final version here. So you've kind of gotten another look into how I'm making these, going through the process of how I'm going through making these damn iOS icons. Making these, what the frick? Emblems. Sometimes I just go and do stuff like I did with this, and it comes out fairly well. And sometimes I do a plan it out, and do stuff like this, and there's some issues that need to be resolved. But that's pretty much how the process works. Just go through and figure stuff out. Get an idea. Modify the idea, like making this a larger thing than with like a circular bit here. Adding this part in here. And kind of, futzing around with it till it looks something like it's pretty cool. Like, for example, this took a while. I actually had to go through and remake this entirely because I couldn't figure out a way to make the things look correctly with the way that correct with the one that I had made before. Just the black one that was on that white kind of thing. The original one, because this side was actually off. It was off in this direction and in this direction, so it was actually too short and too thin. And there was something else. I think something in here was wrong. So I just essentially went through and remade the entire thing. It wasn't too bad to do. I used the other one kind of as a guide, but it was slightly frustrating. For example, this actually isn't a little. This is a little bit off. This should be up a little bit more than what it is. It should be more like this one, though. That could be an effect from just the. No, that's definitely smaller than it should be, but that's fine. Actually, it makes it look a little bit better because it's not exactly the same. So you're not looking at, mirror images everywhere like on most of the other stuff. It's a little bit different. So you're like, oh, it's different from that. Kind of draws your eye to it. But yeah, this one and the one for the Aident, I had to remake that one too. Well, I've actually had to remake them all really, but the one for the Aident and this one were the most annoying ones. Specifically this one, because essentially I had to go back and just recreate the entire thing without using the old one as a template. For the Aident emblem, I did use the old one as a partial template, but I also did some more changes to it. I actually had to go online, find the UN image I used for this again, and essentially re-crop this out and do a bunch more stuff to it to make it work properly. So I actually managed to get a little more refined than it was on the original version. These laurel pieces. I actually managed to get all the way down in there. I had to use a couple things like color selection and erasing based on colors and such things like that. Really annoying to do, but came out pretty good. A lot better than the original version, I thought. So that's going to be it for this section of the developer's vlog. Next one will be for coding. I know that right now. It's going to be doing some code in the next one. I'll try and do some coding before I get to the doing the videos like I did with this. I had this one done already, just kind of show you. Then we did this one, kind of. Hopefully I'll be able to get a little bit more done this development cycle than last. Got a little bit more time now. Things are starting to kind of calm down and work a little bit. Although that might change in the next week or so. I don't know. It depends on a couple things that are going on. I may actually be moving to a new to Indianapolis for a project location. Essentially, my employer is like a contractor, and so they have different clients that they do projects for, and a project that I could probably get onto is in Indianapolis, and based on various matters of consideration, it'd probably be a good fit. So if I can get it, I'll probably go out there. But we'll have to see what happens. So that might play in a factor in how much work gets done this development cycle as well. But save this. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, leave them below in the comment section. And if you haven't done so already, I would appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. And I will see you for the next series of the next recording we do for the 16th Developers Wall. Till then, it's GOL, and I will see you later.